Hello, everyone, and welcome today to the Board Game Bunker. My name is Ryan.
I'm Nate.
How are you doing today, Nate?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good, except for the fact that right before we started recording, I literally could not remember the name of our podcast. So we're off to a great start.
Oh,
today.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, today's episode, we're talking about the top 5 games for each of us that we want to play this year. The only criteria being that we cannot have played it before.
Right.
And this could be something that's been out for 50 years, something that isn't out yet, something that will be available at some point in 2023 that we want to play. So, do you want to start first?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay.
This is a game that came out in 2020, and I bought last year and still have not actually played it.
Sounds like my world.
Yes, this is called Flying Colors. This is the, what is it, the deluxe edition. This is Fleet Actions in the Age of Sail. I love sailing ships, and I think that the era of the 18th and early 19th century of sailing ships is really cool. One of my favorite movies is Master and Commander.
Oh, naturally.
And so, of course,
Fantastic
I want to
film.
play a game that's like Master and Commander.
Right.
And this
Well, you
lets
said
you...
naval combat is one of your favorite things.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And this game lets you play... It's not just like a ship-to-ship game. This is fleet action games.
Okay,
So you
nice.
have a whole fleet of ships.
Right,
And you fight different battles from the Age of Sail, including like the Battle of Trafalgar, the Battle of the Nile, and the Battle of the Chesapeake Bay, in the American Revolution. One of the things that I was just telling you before we went live was that I still, even though I've bought it last year, I haven't yet actually punched everything out.
my
There
goodness.
there are 7 sheets of counters here of all the different
Dozens and
different
dozens of each
ships
one.
that these are the British ships, and here's some French and Spanish and Dutch ships in here, and then we got some administrative counters like they fired on what side, port or starboard side, and everything. But this also includes a bunch of expansions that were released at some point, and GMT decided to sort of deluxify it all
Okay, nice.
and include a bunch of different expansions in one box.
Fantastic. How many expansions does it come with?
I believe this comes with 2 expansions. One
Okay.
that came in a magazine with additional scenarios and counters, and then one it's called Ship of the Line expansion.
Okay.
In here, there is actually more that is coming out in this series as well.
Nice.
So this is still an actively developed series.
Fantastic. That sounds like a lot of fun.
What's yours?
I'll play it with you.
Oh, cool!
Well, my choice rather is also a naval ship game.
Wonderful.
It is called Tiny Epic Pirates. I bet you've never heard of this before.
Nope, definitely not.
This is from a series of games called the Tiny Epic series by Scott Alms. And there's Tiny Epic Pirates, Tiny Epic Westerns, Tiny Epic Knights, Tiny Epic Fantasies, Tiny Epic Zombies. Knights, I'm not sure if it's actual. It might be Castles.
Okay.
Tiny Epic Space Adventures. It's a whole series of they call big games in a little box.
Okay.
So this is basically you helm a notorious pirate ship in the swashbuckling days of yore. And there's a little... I'll open the box so you can see how much stuff they cram in here. So you've got your
God.
coins. You've got different pirate ships. You've got different pieces. I haven't opened this yet, but all these lay out to make different maps. So there's cards, there's dice. They literally have everything you need to play like a full tiny Euro game.
Little gold doubloons.
Yep, doubloons. I don't even know what half this stuff is. There's treasure chests, people, little things that look like guitar picks with wheels on them. So you basically just go around plundering and fighting. I think or trying to avoid being caught by the British or whatever other maybe privateers are out trying to take over your pirate life.
That actually sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, and these are. I mean, there's like I think about that's like $15, normally a $20 game.
Okay.
Which I mean, it's a whole thing. Tiny epics.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
yeah, that's
very cool.
My naval combat game.
All right, that's awesome. I'd love to play with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, my number 4 is actually not available yet. It's still being printed by GMT Games. It's called Mr. President.
Okay.
And it's from Mr. President 2001 to 2020.
Okay.
And by designer Gene Billingsley. And in this is a solitaire game, but it can also be, I believe, played cooperatively, where you are the president of the United States. You're not of any particular political party necessarily, but in it you build your cabinet and you work with Congress,
Yeah.
and you also try to maintain your relationship or what relationship there may be with the media.
Okay.
And have to keep a track of your approval ratings and try to get your legislative agenda through Congress,
Yeah.
but also then deal with foreign policy issues that come
Okay.
up with major powers like Russia, China,
Sure.
and others. And you have to try and just deal with this all. And what happens is, the way the game more or less works, from my understanding, obviously it's not, like I said, not released yet, is that you have way too many choices of things that you could do as the president, but
Yeah.
you only have really so much political capital
Sure.
as kind of a real president,
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of they only have really so much that they can do
Right.
at any one given time because of their political capital that they have.
Absolutely.
And so the game really lets you kind of dive into the shoes of what it may or may not be like
Yeah.
as a president.
Now, is it as a one-player only game?
It is a one-player only game, but I'm pretty sure it can also be played cooperatively
Okay,
with other
that sounds
people.
like fun.
So it's from GMT Games.
Now, it actually sounds a little bit more Euro in a way,
It does, yes.
because there's not really the direct conflict aspect of it.
Correct, yes.
Maybe it's going to start its own genre of games.
It's possible.
The political power games.
It's possible. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of, if not the most pre-ordered game currently on GMT's
Oh, I've never heard of
website.
anything like it before. I'm
Yeah.
sure just by the sheer novelty factor.
It has
it'll do really well.
it has a ton of buzz around it, and I'm pretty sure that when it finally comes on the boat from China after it being printed,
Yeah.
that it will immediately sell out.
I believe it. Have you pre-ordered your copy?
Oh, definitely. Long time ago.
Is it still available for pre-order?
It is. It is in
Okay,
fact
okay.
available only for, I think it's like $52, something like that, for
Okay,
pre-order.
okay.
And when it goes on regular sale, it'll
Yeah.
go up to $100.
Wow.
So it's definitely a steal to get it now.
Yeah. So, not sponsored.
No, of course not.
We will get no money if you do this.
No, of course not.
Now, if you want to sponsor us, you
Of
can.
course, absolutely.
So my number 4 is a game that most people say is one of the most relaxing Euros of all time. It's called Viticulture. This is Tuscany, Europe. This is winemaking.
Okay.
A very standard traditional worker placement game. You have basically your own kind of field, and then you have kind of a general board
Okay.
that everyone shares that has, you place your workers on it. And one of the fun things is that your workers have like rise times. So how early do you want your workers to get up? And that kind of, I think, from my understanding,
Oh, dark 30.
right, kind of indicates like the turn order and such. So throughout the game, you have different seasons. You have your spring, summer, fall, and winter. Winter, of course, there's no grapes growing, so
Right.
that's when you have to increase your income by having tours to your vineyard.
Ah.
You have to press your grapes and then figure out how long you're going to store them before you sell them. If you're going to combine the grapes to make a blush wine, for example,
Okay.
how long you're going to keep them in storage for in your wine cellar so they
Okay.
get the best price.
Okay.
So it very much is your standard.
Do you deduct points at all for the number of people that get drunk off of your wine and do crazy things?
I would guess so. But this is a game that's been on our list for me and my wife's list for a long time. We have a tradition that we get a board game every Christmas. This year we got 2, and this is one of them. We have not played it yet. We've
Okay.
read through the rules. It looks fantastic. So for people who just want like a
I
relaxing,
have never heard of this.
Never ever really.
Nope,
It's like
never heard of
number
this.
20 something on Board Game Geek. It's very very.
Well, it's
popular.
definitely not in anything close to historical or war game theme. So I'm
Italy. So
Italy. Okay.
near Rome, so kind of close to
Okay.
But yeah, to my understanding, again, having never played this, because of the episode where the games you haven't played, it's
Sure.
people just want to just kind of chill out and relax a
Sure.
little bit, make some wine,
Sure.
in a way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's my number 4.
Okay.
The Essentials Edition. I believe it comes with, not really an expansion, but I think they redid it into like a second edition.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'll play it with you at some
Okay.
point.
I'll let you know how it is. I have a feeling I'll be able to tell whether you like it or not. It might not be up your alley.
It's definitely not my alley, but I'll give it a try.
Okay.
All right, mine number 3
Number
run
3, yeah.
is U.S. Civil War. Again, this is by GMT Games. This is designer Mark Simonich. He not only is a game designer, he also, I believe, did the map art on here as well. Yeah, map and counter art.
Wow.
This has, I'll see if I can spin this around, at least for people to see on YouTube, of just the map. It's a map of the United States going all the way to Texas, and it's a gorgeous mounted map. This allows you to play the entirety of the U.S. Civil War on a strategic level from the beginning from 1861 all the way to 1865,
Wow, so
and
it's the whole thing for real.
oh yeah, and I mean really, the rule book is 40 pages, but this game has been around, I believe, since 2015, and
Wow.
has earned a reputation as one of, if not the best strategic level Civil War games out there.
That's impressive.
So if you want to try and refight the Civil War, this is one of the games to do it.
How long do they say the whole game?
Let's see.
How many days?
It doesn't say, so I would
sounds
imagine
ominous.
many hours.
Many hours. Well, if we're doing all 4 years, that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But I like studying the Civil War. I love visiting Civil War battlefields. I've always enjoyed the Civil War as a topic, but I don't. I have to be in the right mood to play a Civil War game, and I wanted a sort of Civil War game that covers the whole thing,
Right.
to cover the whole war. And I saw this just a couple of years ago. It was out of print, and there was a pre-order for this new third edition,
Okay.
second printing of it, and I pre-ordered it, and
Snagged it.
just recently came in, so I was
Nice.
really
That's
excited to play it
fantastic.
at some point.
Now, is it kind of like War for America in the sense that every single kind of month of the war, so to speak, the game kind of triggers events that may have happened at the time?
Yeah, one of the things that happens in the game, and it's actually somewhat of a bit of a controversy with this game with some war gamers, is that the turn record track has different generals that come and go throughout the war, so that Stonewall Jackson will eventually leave the war. He'll eventually die.
Yeah.
And a lot of players wanted to play a sort of what ifs. What if Stonewall Jackson didn't die at the Battle of Chancellorsville in May of 1863?
Yeah.
And then he lived on and he was part of the Battle of Gettysburg or something like that. And I think there's some optional rules in which you could try to do that.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, again, I haven't played it yet, my understanding is that even though generals come and go in the game, that it works for the game.
Yeah.
That just the way the game is, that it works, and it works really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my number 3.
That's exciting. Well, my number 3 is the other game that my wife and I got for Christmas, and this is one that you will be excited about.
Oh,
this is Concordia.
Very
And
excited about
Concordia,
this one.
It's a Roman Empire game. To my understanding, again, having not played it, it takes some vibes from Settlers, where you are kind of putting down buildings and making, I don't know if it's roads, but you're connecting things somehow.
Sure.
And
Trade
you're
routes.
Yeah, trade routes, and you basically are fueling an economy. And it's actually cool. There's 2 different ways, 2 different boards, which I want to get your take on it, because you are the Roman expert.
I've never actually seen this physically.
So the 2-player one is a whole map of Italy.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
The boot. So then of course
Sicily, Corsica, Sardinia.
And then of course you have your victory point tracker that goes around the board like a standard Euro.
Okay.
And then the other side, which is your 4-player, just kind of expands it all to
The Empire.
to the Empire, exactly. So yeah, it's economics in ancient Rome, effectively.
Interesting. I mean, historically, the provinces are wrong, but
Sure.
but still.
And that's the case for a lot of Euros. They kind of move around the locations a little bit just to kind of make it fit the board better.
Right.
But
this looks awesome.
Me and my wife and a couple of friends are playing Pandemic Legacy right now, and the way that it's a fantastic game, but where a lot of the cities are, it's really like several hundred miles over this way, but they can't get it fit in the board quite right, so it's over here.
Right.
Same with you. I haven't punched anything out yet, but you've got all of your various Roman coinage. And
Very
such.
cool.
So I will. You're welcome to play this anytime.
Oh, definitely.
This may be one once we get going on the channel more and do a playthrough.
Oh, very cool.
So Concordia, ladies and gentlemen, this is an old game. It's about 10 years old, but
Okay, awesome.
brand new for us.
All right, number what? Number 2
Number 2.
is a game I just recently snagged called Unconditional Surrender: World War II in Europe. Again, by GMT Games. I seem to have a theme here. And
You
this
sure they're
is
not sponsoring you?
no, definitely not. Definitely not. Maybe, but this is by designer Salvatore Vasta. This is just the European theater of World War II. This is a strategic level World War II game. This came out several years ago. This second edition is actually from 2017. This is the second printing of it, and it's out of print right now.
Yeah.
I was able to get a good copy, a brand new copy on secondary market for dirt cheap, and the third edition will actually be coming out sometime in the near future. It will be reprinted, but anyway, it is a relatively, I guess you could say, complex game because it's trying to simulate a lot of World War II. So, it can be somewhat text heavy. There's examples of play through it all, so it is
necessary for sure.
While the rule book is fairly large, it's comprehensive, and
which, if you're trying to do something that large historically, that makes sense.
Right. I have fiddled with it myself. Like I've gone through the rule book a few times, and I've always walked away understanding what I'm reading.
Yeah.
So at least it's clear.
Yeah.
And eventually, whenever I do able to play this, I have looked through. There's a scenario book that the way that the designer designed this game and the scenarios is scenarios only teach you bits of the game.
Okay.
As you begin to expand for the war. So, for instance, like the first scenario is Poland, 1939, and so you only really have a few pieces on the map, and you only go to certain parts of the rule book. You don't need to worry about air, naval combat, things like that.
So you don't need to learn everything from scratch.
Correct.
Just what you need in order to play that
right.
of the game.
And then you go to the next scenario and you learn a bit more, and then you go to the next scenario.
Much better way to learn a game like this.
Much better, yes. And this is a highly thought of strategic level World War II game.
Okay.
I know that a lot of war gamers really like this game a lot.
Yeah.
Not only because it simulates World War II fairly well, but it also allows you to go into the alternate histories.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
What if the Germans won the Battle of Britain?
Right.
And could they have invaded? Or what if the Germans actually took Moscow in 1941? Or what if Rommel was able to beat the British in North Africa and move into Egypt and take Cairo and Alexandria. And this game allows you to explore those alternate histories, which I really like.
Which I think would be interesting for especially a Euro gamer trying to get into this. We want something a little bit different.
Yes. The one thing that really drew me to this game in particular was the fact that this has a scenario on my favorite theater of World War II, which is the Mediterranean theater.
Oh, yeah.
Not just North Africa with Rommel in the desert, but the whole naval air moving convoys across, as well as North Africa.
Right.
That's my favorite theater, and this has a specific scenario for it.
Okay.
So very excited to play this game.
Now, is this just solo, or can we play multiplayer as well?
It can be played multiplayer.
Okay.
I will. Here's a look at the map for those on YouTube. It's just Europe. It has a different map projection than what a lot of people are used to, but it works. It works really well for this game.
It's more like they extract it from a globe or something like that.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is actually I'm cheating. It's 2 for the price of 1.
Oh.
So this is the game that I want to play this year, but will not.
Oh, I think I know what this is. Yes.
This is Gloomhaven. If you know, you know. If you don't, this is currently the number 1 rated game on Board Game Geek. Currently for the last 5 years, this is a campaign-style game where you basically are taking
the metric ton of stuff in here.
It's 22 pounds. It's ridiculous. I can't lift it. It takes the best parts of an RPG and gets rid of some of the annoying parts. Like you don't have to have a GM, a game manager. You don't have to have hours and hours. You just play scenario by scenario, but you're still choosing a character, going through a dungeon crawl, destroying monsters, getting loot, and then kind of choose your own adventure style, figuring out where you want to go. So a guy, I think his name Isaac Childress, I believe, yes. He developed this whole system over years on how to make a cooperative 1 to 4 player game against a very good AI that apparently can be very difficult.
Oh, wow.
Now, I got this is my birthday present to myself because it was on a 40% off sale on Amazon, and I couldn't resist passing it up. I will not be playing this year because instead I'm going to be doing Gloomhaven Light. Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, which is it came out after Gloomhaven, but it's technically the prequel to Gloomhaven. It basically the same concept, only 25 scenarios. I've heard from a lot of people it's the better way to learn Gloomhaven because the first 5 scenarios are the training scenarios, kind of like you just explained with your games. Each of those intro games will teach you that component that you need for that scenario, and they build upon each other.
Yeah.
So I remember when I got this box first, I thought this is massive. This
It
is nothing
is.
compared to the other one. And throughout the Gloomhaven games, you kind of you make characters, you retire characters, and it's basically the scenarios are ticking clock scenarios. So every single turn, you have to play 2 cards. You have to play the top. Each card has 2 actions. You have to play the top action on one card and the bottom action on the other card. Once your hand is gone, you basically take all the cards in your hand again, except for one, which you don't get back. And then you keep playing those cards again. Once you run out of cards, because every round you lose a card,
Sure, yeah.
you're done. You just lose.
Okay.
So you can't just fiddle around in this dungeon against these monsters forever. You have
Interesting.
to make the best choices possible, knowing that if I don't do this quick enough, I'm just gonna lose.
Huh.
So
Okay.
yeah. This will be my first foray into campaign-style games, which, being a lover of stories, I think I'm just going to be completely obsessed.
I mean, it's definitely not my theme.
Right.
I like history stuff, but
Yeah.
it definitely. I mean, it looks cool. The art looks cool.
Yeah.
And the component quality looks really neat.
Oh, there's so much stuff in here. It's ridiculous about what they pack into here.
Yeah.
The box is 22 pounds worth of just... there's a couple miniatures, and then there's all the monsters, and
Wow.
there's different, not counters, but there's items
Chits.
and cards. Yeah, chits and such. Another one I want to try this year on that same route is Journeys in Middle-earth, which is that effectively, but Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
So number 2 is campaign-themed in general.
All right, my number 1 is a game that I was very much looking forward to getting and playing. This is Barbarians at the Gates.
Ooh.
This is a game designed by Chris Van Burden, I think. That's how you pronounce his name. This is from Compass Games. This was released, I believe, last year. And this is a CDG game about the decline and fall of the Western Roman Empire.
Okay.
From the time of Constantine and then through the end of the empire in 476 AD. And one of the things that I like about this game that, well, I wouldn't say I've played CDGs. I'm not very good at CDGs.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was really drawn to in this game, one is that the subject itself. I mean, that's part of my dissertation for my PhD
Sure,
is
absolutely.
the collapse
That's what
of the
you're
Western
interested in.
Roman Empire.
Exactly.
But I've really liked the rule book going through. The guy does a really good job. There's actually he did a Let's Play on YouTube
Sure.
to learn the game. But I really like the map.
Ooh, this already looks gorgeous.
Really like the map a lot. It really fits the theme.
Oh, fantastic!
Well,
Yeah, and I really love how the water isn't just blue. You got some waves in it.
Yep.
There's textures to the board.
It feels like you're in the latter half of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
When you look at the board,
And it looks like a Euro, honestly.
it does actually.
This is
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I really want to play with you. 'Cause
Right.
It looks like a Euro.
Yeah.
It's in disguise.
Right, and the component quality is really good. I mean, there's no you don't have to round the corners or anything. You
It's all
just
done for you.
punch them out and they're good to go.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
This is, from what I can tell, from so far of reading how people have played this game and what they say online, that this game is a smash hit.
Yeah, it looks
and
fantastic.
I have seen some YouTube playthroughs of it, and people just absolutely love this game. There's a lot of strategy involved on, it's a 2-player game. One is the Romans and one is the barbarians, obviously, and but then there's also different aspects of the game where barbarians will swap sides and join the Romans.
Interesting.
But then the barbarians are able to then cause usurpers to the throne on the Western Roman Empire, and that causes instability and civil war and like that. So there's a lot of different things that could happen in the game that you're not really ready for. And you have to be in a position to respond to them as quickly as possible.
That sounds fantastic.
So yeah, Barbarians
Honestly,
at the Gates.
Out of all the games you mentioned, this episode and probably the last couple episodes, this is the one I'm most excited to play with you, with the exception of maybe Atlantic Chase. That may
yes.
take the cake.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to putting this out on my table. In fact, it might actually happen later today.
Nice. Very cool. Well, my number one is one that I think you are also very excited to play at some point, and that is Brass
Oh,
Birmingham.
yes.
This is a game that I've actually had for about a year, and I just haven't been able to play it because the run time is 2 hours, and I just haven't been able to me and my wife together haven't been able to get it down yet. But this takes place in Industrial Revolution times, Birmingham, England. And basically, it's a game of building flipping, ultimately. So you have all these kind of resources. You have coal and iron and things like that. And what you're doing is actually kind of cool. There's a day side of the board. There you go.
Very cool.
And then you can play the same thing, but at night.
Oh.
There's no other difference at all.
Huh.
So you have different, I'm going to flip back around to make our YouTube studio audience able to see it better. You have railway lines and you have canal lines. And the game plays over basically 2 ages, the canal line and the railway line. You do as much as you can in the canal line and the board resets itself.
Okay.
You kind of lose your canals and then you just have to play off railroads.
Yeah, because I see from 1770 to 1870, so.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Modes of transportation change.
Yeah, so you're it's kind of a typical Euro. You're kind of claiming different routes, so to speak, and then building on the different squares. And when people use your resources, because people can use your resources in this game, it's interesting. You get paid for it ultimately. And then once you get to a certain point of the game, you have workers, and you have to make sure you have enough beer to feed your workers, and you literally have beer bottles.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so it's right now it's the number 2 game on Board Game Geek, right behind Gloomhaven, and it's just crazy for me how a game like this, it's niche and it's just a game of building flipping.
The
ultimately.
component quality is just amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. The artwork is 100% gorgeous.
Wow.
This is actually a quasi sequel / remake to a game called Brass Lancashire.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, they effectively redid the game and changed some of the rules, but didn't republish it as Lancashire. They said that's kind of a separate game. It's very similar. A lot of the goals are similar, but some of the mechanics are different enough that they want to make them 2 different games ultimately.
Okay.
So yeah,
Makes sense.
and then you have your own kind of player board as well.
Yeah.
Day and night with the different buildings you can get, and yeah, you're building buildings and then flipping the buildings ultimately, and that's Industrial Revolution building flipping number 2 game on Board Game Geek.
I really want to try this.
We will.
Really want to try this.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So those are our top 10 games, so we didn't have any overlap.
Right.
Yeah. Now, do you think? I guess this is the last question before we cut. Do you think you're going to play them in the order of most looking forward to least, with the exception of the game that's not out yet, or do you think it's going to be like a mood thing?
It's going to be a mood thing. What sort of era in history am I interested in at the time?
Sure,
and you know, I'm in a Rome kick, and I'll pull out a Rome game, and oh no, I want to play a Napoleonic game. Let me pull out a fleet action game or whatever.
Or what other game we find out we're like, oh, this looks better.
Right. Yeah.
Well, my wife and I keep saying most nights, we're going to pull out Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion any one of these days and play through the first scenario, and she's ready for it. I'm just so tired most nights, but I'm excited. That's my goal. At least these 5 games, and then some of yours for sure next year.
Cool. Very cool.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Board Game Bunker. Drop a comment, let us know what games you're excited about, and we'll see you in the next episode.